Well, hello. My name is Ken Brott. I'm with DRB Systems. Today I have the pleasure of sitting with Harvey Miller. Many know Harvey in the industry, I'm told, I think for 57 years. Has owned a number of car washes over the years, is considered a pioneer in many ways, which we'd like to explore, and now has his own consulting business, helping car wash operators do their job better. Welcome, Harvey.
And thank you very much, and thanks for having me.
Sure. And I have Brandon Jordan here helping me think of the right questions to ask.
Privileged to be here.
So, Harvey, to get us started, I just thought for kicks you could tell us how you decided to get into the car wash business.
Well, a long time ago, I was in the newspaper business where, from a paper boy, I went to get my own dealership, and the paper boys came to me, and I had to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning because the fellas, and maybe there were a couple girls involved too, and they came before they went to school and to get the paper out. So I was always tired, because I got up in the middle of the night. And one day I went to get my car wash, and I had to wait in line in Los Angeles for a long time, By the time I got out of there, I thought, geez, this must be a wonderful business. I had to wait so long. I said, maybe I should get in the car wash business. So I gave up my newspaper dealership, and so I bought my first car wash when I was 25 years old, and in West Los Angeles, and I had a rocky start. I knew nothing about the business, and I was lucky to be able to sell it before I went broke. And then, foolishly, I bought another one in Beverly Hills, and that was another nightmare, but luckily the property owner didn't want a car wash there anymore because he thought it'd be better for an office building, and he sure was right. And so I was able to get out of that, and then I got a couple partners, and they put up my share of the money. We went out and bought a good car wash, and then I really started to learn the business and worked 70, 80 hours a week, and worked off in the portion that they paid me off, and we sold that and started to build them, and in the 60s and the 70s, and that got me started pretty well.
So I don't know if this is accurate, but somebody one time, we were talking about you, Harvey, and they said that they thought that you had bought and sold more car washes than any other human in the industry. Is that fair, or how many have you done? Do you know offhand?
I've done a total of 32. And is that more than anybody in bought and sold? To my knowledge, I don't know anyone who has bought and sold that many.
Yes, that's quite
many locations.
So, did you have a plan that said you wanted to buy sites, maybe build them up and sell them? Was that sort of how you went through so many sites?
When we started out, and that was not the plan, and the plan was that we just thought we would keep the locations and build a chain of them. But in those days, you were able to sell after 6 months, and you was able to pay just capital gain. And so that gave us the motivation and build them economically and sell them. And a lot of buyers were around in Southern California. So we sold them and built some more. But then when I relocated to Sacramento, and I purchased some distressed car washes, many that were either closed or distressed, and I purchased them. And some of those I kept for a long time because I got in very cheap. Some of them I got for nothing. Some of them I got for, where they took back the mortgage for 10 years at 3 or 4 or 5% interest. And so I kept them because, I was really making a lot of money in operating them. And so the industry has changed, and then before the recession, operators sold car washes for a high amount because people came in and they paid the asking price. But once the recession hit, about 5 years ago, and then of course the prices came way down because, like everything else, came down.
So I think about some of the exchanges we've had as an opportunity to work with you over the years. And a number of innovations come to mind that you, if you weren't at the front of, or if you weren't the leader of, you certainly were at the front of. I'd like to ask you about. So, for instance, one is the whole idea of selling extra services and tracking dollars per car. When did you think of that, and who started that? Was that you?
I don't think I started it. I'm sure somebody was in there. But on my third or fourth location, we discovered that the customer, the consumer, wants more than just a basic car wash. And we started out with tire dressing. And of course, there was no tire dressing machine on the conveyor at that time. And so we did the tires, with a brush, a little bucket. When the car came out in the finishing area, we'd do the tires and charge anywhere from $2 to $4 additional for the tires. And we gave the service, at that day it was called a service rider, then we upgraded it to service advisor, which was a more proper name. And we gave them a commission. So if they sold tire dressing, maybe they'd get a 50-cent commission. So of course that motivated them. And then we added wax, sealer wax. Some people actually sold sealer wax instead of giving it as a part of the washing process. Then we added hot wax. And then we added other types of waxes. And all of a sudden we was getting $3 for this and $5 for that. So instead of getting maybe $12 a vehicle on an average, all of a sudden the averages started going up. And we could do that with really very little extra labor, because a lot of that was then incorporated into the tunnel, which was done automatically. Tire dressing we still had to do by hand. And then there was a wax that came out, I forgot the name of it, but a wax that came out and that is done in the finishing area, and that we sold for, I think we got around $20, $25 for it. And that was a home run, because that really raised the average. And we saw a difference in the finish of the vehicle. But more important is the customer saw a difference in for their money. And in Sacramento, I remember in one of the locations that I bought out of foreclosure, we was averaging close to $30 a vehicle, and with very little extra labor. And so I kept in that location for 19 years before I sold it, because it was a good money maker. Unfortunately, the man I sold it to, he had a stroke, and that turned his life and the place around. And his wife tried to run it, but they couldn't run it, and I had to take it back. But we again built it up. And the man I sold it to, he even did a better job than I did, because he was there locally, and he didn't know anything about the business, but a smart fella, and he was there locally, where I had to go back and forth between Sacramento and my home in Southern California. So, after it got started, I wasn't there. So he did a tremendous job until he sold it. The people that have it now are still doing a good job. But extra services came one on top of one. And that was really before the Unlimited Monthly Club, because even though we sold them, we would sell, 2 here, 4 there. Maybe at the end of the month we would have, if we were washing 6,000 cars a month, maybe we'd have 25 club members. By then we were selling monthly, but a lot of them were 3-month customers. And we really wasn't marketing unlimited clubs. We were offering it, and that raised our average as the extra services came along. And a lot of that is because of the equipment manufacturers. And they made equipment, and then the chemical companies, and figured out ways to give us these extra services. But the thing is the marketing and offering the service advisors commissions.
Well, right, I wanted to go on that, because you were one of the first that I recall talking to us about, hey, I want to be able to track the dollars per car by service advisor, because you wanted to do this commissions. When did that dawn on you? That was quite an idea.
Well, before the computer stage, before I went into the computer stage, we did it manually, and we tracked, and the service advisor tracked it, and we pretty much trusted him that he was giving us honest counts at the end of the day. And so unless we didn't agree with the accounts, we would take his account, and if he was getting 50 cents for something, and if he sold 100 of them, in the payroll period, he'd get $50 commission. And I remember then I would give him a separate check for the commissions because they could recognize it easier. And a lot of the employees, and they wanted separate checks and they would give their wife and the check from the salary and from the commissions, and they would kind of keep as a little bit of side money. And I remember service advisors, and so I said to him, I said, I have no problem with that. And it was good because they was able to recognize it. And if they got a check for $300 commission, and they would go and look at their book, and sometime they came back and they said, I think you're mistaken. It should be more. So we'd go over it and see if they were right or not. But commissions was, that was what really motivated them. But on the other side, we had to be careful that they didn't pressure the customer. And we would tell them, listen, if a customer says, no, I don't want that, that's it. And you don't go back and say, yeah, but. I said, you're not going to chase the customers away. And that worked fairly well. We were pretty picky with the service advisors because they were really representing the company, and the last thing we wanted to do was to pressure the customer.
So prior to offering these additional services, if I understand, when I pull onto the car wash, it was one price, everybody pays the same price, and I think earlier you mentioned 99-cent car washes, free with a fill-up. Was it just prior to the dawn of extra services and the focus on dollars per car, everything was just a set price?
That's correct, with the exception that if we had discount coupons out there, and if it was 99 cents in the 60s there, in the 1960s, and if they brought in a coupon for 50 cents, and then the car wash was 49 cents, and sometime they'd bring in a coupon that said free with a fill-up. Well, we were already free at that time, and so I don't know if they bring in a coupon free, but it would be a set price unless they had a discount.
Right, it's hard for Braden and I. We don't remember the industry where there weren't extra services, right? That's how
I think when I started washing cars, neither one of you was around here. I think that's true. I know it's. I'm sure it's true with both of you.
Well, I'll tell you another thing. I think almost certainly I give you credit on this one, and because to my knowledge, you were the first to talk about this with us, but that was the idea of creating packages. For want of a better way of saying it, a good, better, best approach to marketing the packages at the wash. Tell us how you came up with that idea. What was the genesis of that?
Well, we all came up with that idea. I'm sure my manager, the cashier, I remember us having meetings, and we always included the service advisors because, hey, those are the people that had to sell it. And we kind of came up with packages that you would call best, middle, but we had names for it. It could have been a silver and a gold and a platinum. And we packaged, the basic wash, pretty much like the Express Exteriors are doing today. We came up with a basic wash. In those days, it was no longer 99 cents. Thank goodness. And then we had the next wash was, and if our basic wash was $6.95, then we'd have another wash for $9.95, and they would get one extra service. And then $12.95, they'd get another one. And if they wanted all the extra services that we had, maybe it was $14.95. Today, it depends on the neighborhood and the income level. But today, I know in where I live, and the most expensive package, I think, is $17.95. And so we packaged them and offered the customer, whatever they wanted. And then if they brought in a coupon, a $2 coupon or $3 coupon, and they could use that against any one of the packages, unless the coupon said just good on the most expensive package.
So I think you're being a little humble about this. I think the car wash industry packaged services before, say, fast food did. I think we were ahead of the McDonald's meal deal.
I believe that's true.